I hope you've come excited tonight, ready to discover your grace gift. Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12. Your pastor mentioned reminding you of the grace gift, why we call it that. In Romans chapter 12, we've read a number of times this week. In verse 6, the Bible records, having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us. So gifts differing according to grace. These are different than spiritual. We said in our introduction on Saturday, these are not, there were such a thing as spiritual gifts. Today, in the church age dispensation, we have gifts given to us that by grace, we are given grace gifts. That's different than spiritual gifts. Spiritual gifts were for a sign. They were for Israel. For us, we are the body of Christ, and the body is enacted and unified when gifts by grace are employed among the body. Miss Kay asked me a great question this afternoon that I thought I would also share with you so you all could know. The question was, in any given church, is there... do you find that there may be a gift missing within the body, or at times are there very few that have a particular gift? And I suppose that's true. Churches go through seasons. Different churches demand different things. Much bigger ministries, say if they're running, and I don't know this study, I've never done it myself. I think it would be interesting to do, but I would assume or make an educated guess that if you have a very large ministry, maybe you run 2,000 and that ministry has a Bible college and a Christian school and multiple ministries, you're probably going to be very heavy percentage-wise in the area of ruler and teacher and prophecy and those types of ministries. In smaller ministries, I don't know. Your church goes through seasons. Our church goes through seasons. At times, we need the givers. At other times, we need the exhorters. And I don't know how God uses that at times. But we just trust that what we have is where we are. The body, we didn't even cover the passages about the body fitly joined together. That's exactly what these gifts do for us. That's how this body, New Life Baptist Church, is fit together. Every joint in its place, and that's you enacting the gift God has given to you. So grace gift, different than spiritual gift. It is the one given to the body. So we have one left tonight. It's mercy, and I know we want to get to the survey, so we'll do our due diligence for mercy, because if that's your gift, I don't want to sell you short tonight. But we'll kind of breeze through some of those things we've been covering, such as why these are important. You should have these by now. It is for the overall spiritual health and maturity, which then leads to unity, which then leads to example of function, which then that function becomes efficient. And when everyone's doing what the Lord has gifted them to do, you're being a good steward and you're being obedient to the Word of God. And so each one of those reasons on why these are important are laid out before us. You want a church that is healthy and mature. You want a church that is unified. One that is an example to the next generation. That's exactly what we are supposed to be. And then functioning efficiently so we can be obedient and good stewards are always the keys to what we're doing. So out of all the gifts we've discovered and talked about, mercy is the last on our list tonight. So for those of you that have the gift of mercy, here's how we define it. It is the ability to have immediate compassion for those who are suffering, combined with great joy in meeting their needs. So you have an immediate compassion for those who are suffering, combined with great joy in meeting their need. It has this idea that mercy is enacted when there's a suffering, when there is a compassion. Few people need mercy when things are going well. That would be more the exhortation, the exhorter. But here is when the body needs and requires someone that is compassionate about what you're suffering through, whether that's a parent issue, whether that's a twilight years issue, whether that's a loss of a loved one issue. Someone with the gift of mercy has the ability to immediately come in with compassion and try to bring great joy in meeting a need for that particular person. Here's a purpose of mercy. God's grace gift of mercy to the church is for the purpose of making a difference in the body of Christ with a compassionate approach to building up your faith. Everyone wants to know they have someone in their corner. And those gifted with mercy are that person. But ye, beloved, building up yourselves on your most holy faith, praying in the Holy Ghost, keep yourselves in the love of God, looking for the mercy of our Lord Jesus Christ unto eternal life. And of some have compassion, making a difference. And so we believe those with mercy are making a difference in our churches by bringing great compassion and understanding where that role is important. Here are your characteristics. Number one, you love to love. That's not hard for you. You are just a very loving person in general. You care nothing about history, background, skeletons in the closet, current sins, sins in the future, sins that you may commit tomorrow. That makes no difference to someone with mercy. They absolutely love to love you unconditionally in any stage of your life. They search out the good in people. They don't care that there's also sin. They don't care that there's also negative characteristics of an individual. All they care to see, all they care to search out is that there is good in everyone. Somewhere in there they know that there is good. If you have a mercy, you bring out the good in people. You not only are willing to search out that there's good in someone, no matter the situation, but you're willing to try to help bring out the good that's in there. And let's be honest, the people who struggle in life that want their good to be seen, they need those people with mercy, because everyone desires to be seen as good, no matter what life has brought them. Recognizes the spiritual and emotional condition of others. Words do not even have to be said. No verbal communication whatsoever. Someone with a characteristic of mercy is able to recognize the condition in someone. It's a body language. It's a facial expression. Sometimes it's obvious. There's tears. There's hands. There's face in the hands. There's someone at an altar who's weeping. And so if you have the gift of mercy, you can recognize it without ever asking the question, well, how was your day? It doesn't have to be said. You already know something's different. You also act out of concern for others. You act out of concern for others. You're not worried about, as my wife would say, wanting to know the tea, right? Spilling the tea. You're not interested in the water cooler rumors. You're not going to someone asking what's wrong because you can't wait to tell the next person and be a busybody and a gossip mill. That's not your concern. You're going, you act, you put your arm around someone, you hug them, you're asking what's wrong because you're genuinely concerned for that individual in that moment. And you're someone that can be confided in because you will keep confidence. You're not concerned about spreading what that information is. You just want to find a way in which you can genuinely be concerned about those around you. You care for the emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being of others. Not only can you see it, we recognize it. We talked about that a moment ago. You're concerned about the individual, not the situation. Even the details of the situation aren't a big deal to you. You just need to know big picture. What's going on? Is everything okay? And then you care for them enough that you want their well-being. Whether it's a spiritual concern, whether it's just they're just discouraged and down today and it's emotional, or maybe there's just some physical issue that is causing them to be concerned. Someone gets news that they've just been diagnosed with cancer. That's a physical issue that certainly brings about emotional concern as well, but you're just trying to get to the core of what that looks like so you can know how to care for them. You also have you are someone who chooses words carefully. I don't do that. Listen, I'm terrible at that. I need to be better as a pastor for sure at that, but I also need to be better at it just as a human. I'm very straightforward. I wear my emotions and communication on my sleeve. If what I've told you like or don't like, I can at least tell you this: it was honest. I don't know that you liked it, and I don't know that you wanted it, but it's how the Lord led me, and it's exactly what I said. There's no minced words. I'm not hiding anything. There's no veil behind what I've said. I didn't mean it. I didn't say it this way and mean it another way. If I said it this way and you took it that way, that's exactly how I meant it. If you're thinking, well, why did he say this? Does he mean this? No, I meant this. Exactly what I said. Someone with mercy, they're way more careful with their words. Okay? My wife is fantastic at this. This is her gift. And she is wonderful at knowing exactly the right words to say at the right time. It scares me to enact mercy because I'm like, I don't want to say the wrong thing right here. And then I might even have to work hard to search for what those right words are because it's not my gift. But with Jody, it's the right words all the time. It is exactly where that person needs to hear it at that time. You're able to recognize the effect the words can have. As in the conversation, you're not only choosing words carefully, but you recognize that what you might have said was taken the wrong way, and you can clean that up. I don't usually know I've offended people until they've left, or they're just offended and they haven't talked to me in 3 weeks. I should be more cognizant of those things. Whereas if you have the gift of mercy, you recognize it immediately. You want to know why they haven't even looked in your direction in 5 minutes. And so you're able to recognize the effect that words have had. Even if they haven't come from you, maybe they've come from someone else, and then you can help, right? You can swoop in and be a blessing. You detect insincerity. If you have the gift of mercy, you know if someone's being genuine. That's easy for you to spot. And so when you see it and you know that someone's being sincere, it's easier for you to meet the need. Loves to be thoughtful. You much like a giver would, for example. You've heard something said, and then the next thing you know, there's a need being met because you were listening. I don't even know still today, after all these years, how this ended up coming about, but there was a lady in our church years ago now that lost her oldest son at a very, very young age. I think he was in his 30s. And this family has been faithful and in our church for a long time. And, Jody's never lost a child, but she has that gift of mercy. And so she knew that this lady was struggling and just was really, really having a hard time. And so, Jody went and bought a tree that she could plant to remember her son by. And just on the anniversaries, she remembers those things. She's thoughtful in so many ways to remember anniversaries that are important to someone, or an event that occurred in their life, or responding in a way that is not always as obvious. Someone has a baby in the church, that one's obvious. But it's the years following an event where the thoughtfulness kicks in for someone with mercy. They'll almost never forget that you had a struggle on this day or lost this person on this day. You're trustworthy. That goes back to what I said earlier. You don't care about the gossip. You don't care about the tea. You're not asking someone what's wrong because you need that information. You're just someone who you can be confided in and is trustworthy. That if it is said to you with the gift of mercy, it's not going anywhere else. It's not going to be shed throughout the church to someone. You are someone that is certainly trustworthy because you know the only way you can truly care is if it stays or remains a very private and personal situation. You're non-confrontational. Now, this is a great characteristic. It also is a challenge. Okay? It's a challenge, but it is very much a great characteristic. You're not going to go in and blow up a situation. You're non-confrontational. But sometimes you'll also get run over. And that's just the detriment of someone with the characteristics at time. I can tell you this, it's a whole lot more positive than it is negative to be non-confrontational. And so this is a characteristic you carry with you. Thinks with the heart rather than the head. Great characteristic. I don't have it. This goes back to what I said last night about a ruler. Jody's the dreamer and I'm the dream crusher, and I love her dreams. I do, but I'm the one that I'm afraid has to crush them because she's thinking with her heart. Boy, I would love to do this. That's how she feels. And then my brain kicks in because I think with the head, and I crush everything she's just said. So if you have mercy, your characteristic is that's how you think. You're thinking, how would I feel about this? How did they feel about this? Everything's driven with your heart rather than the logical, this doesn't make sense. Well, most tragedy doesn't make sense. And someone with mercy who thinks with their heart can accomplish or meet a need. You're able to rejoice and or grieve with others. Now, let me remind you, we're going to cover this in a minute. We're very much commanded to every gift. I am commanded to show mercy. I need to know to rejoice with those who are rejoicing and weep with those who are weeping. That's a command to us in the Scriptures. But if you have the gift of mercy, you are the best at this. You are everyone's cheerleader when things are going well, and you're right there as a shoulder to cry on when it's not. And everyone knows that, and it's great. You usually are cheerful. Your characteristic is a very cheerful characteristic. If you have the gift of mercy, I think I say this somewhere, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you're usually cheerful because that's exactly what the situation requires. You consider others more important than self. Doesn't matter for you. You're a lot like we talked about in ministry the other night. You're someone who would sacrifice riding home with your family in order to stay and pray with someone after church. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying you're going to put someone else in front of your own needs. And that's a characteristic. Challenges. Here are your challenges for mercy. And again, let me remind you, every gift has its challenge, and it just means if you don't get out of your own way, you're going to have struggles. And so the first one is you're overly sensitive. Now this can be a great thing. Being I could use a lot more sensitivity. But if you're overly sensitive, you're easily hurt. You're easily offended. You aren't always exactly sure what the situation requires. You can be easily hurt by others. That goes along with the being overly sensitive. You can be easily hurt by others. That is a challenge for you. Easily takes up others' problems that are not their own. This is very much a challenge for you. You have enough on your plate. Ms. Kay was trying to explain to me about a podcast this week, and she talked about kind of trying to stay on her own page, and that's at times where you need to be if you have the gift of mercy, because you'll be in everybody's pages. You'll be in yours and your spouses and your children's and the church members, and you'll spread yourself so thin that you'll take on everyone else's problems, even when they're not your own, and that's not always a good thing. Thinking with their heart leads to indecision. Thinking with their heart leads to indecision. Once you've counseled someone mercifully through a trial, you may not be the best person at that time to help them make a decision about what to do next, because you just know, you're just empathizing with how they feel. You do not necessarily always understand. I'm not saying never. You do not always know best about what to do next, how to solve the problem. It becomes a challenge for you because you're thinking with your heart, and that blocks. When this kicks in, It blocks some neurons, I think, up here, whatever the medical term is for that. It blocks some things up here that keep you from being able to make clear decisions. Uses for those with mercy. Every gift has its uses. Certainly care ministry is at the top. You're going to be someone the pastor can call and say, hey, listen, so-and-so's having a rough time. Would you mind taking some flowers by and just loving on them? All right? That's a great way to summarize your purpose. You could be an usher and a greeter because you're naturally a joyful person. Everyone wants to see a smiling face when they come in the door. They want to genuinely know with sincerity that when you've asked, how was your day, you want an answer. I'm terrible at that. Listen, you're probably hating me by the end of the week because I'm telling all my stuff. I listen and I ask with purpose. But I've learned there's some people I'm not asking how was your day today because I know what I'm getting. My wife with mercy doesn't care. She's asking every time. And so, usher, greeter, and you don't have to have the title to do that. I'll say this about our own church, and I think it's good in every church. I tell our folks all the time, you don't have to wear a special shirt or a name tag on your shirt to say you're a greeter to greet people. Everybody should greet people. Everybody should be welcoming and usher. Uses for those with mercy, a benevolence ministry. Someone who's really gone through something, the loss of a loved one or a very serious illness has taken. A benevolence ministry is a great way for someone with mercy to find place. Working the invitations. If you're merciful, if that's your gift, you should be sensitive to what goes on down here. I assume you run invitations. If someone's up here kneeling and weeping, you're the person to come. Nothing has to be said. Just come kneel with them, put your arm around them, and let them know they're not alone. And someone with mercy is drawn to do that. They are certainly drawn to do that. How should I show mercy? Listen, every gift in Romans 12 has come with an how. It tells us what the gift is, and then it tells us how to do it. And this is no exception. He that showeth mercy with cheerfulness. Here's what I was going to say a moment ago. You are the person who brings the cheer to the situation, because if empathy and then an inability to bring someone back up where they need to be is a very fine line. Okay? And what I mean by that is, if you get in the ditch with them, you can't help them. And so someone with mercy can empathize and they can weep with those who are weeping, but their end goal is to bring cheer. Their end goal is to bring someone back up to a place where they're better than when you found them. And so how do you show mercy? Well, you do it with cheerfulness. You do it with a smile on your face, and you do it with a positive attitude, and you're wanting to see some resolution come with it. Here's our review. Mercy is one who has this: the ability to have immediate compassion. It's immediate. I shared this with you the other night, and it's to my shame. But if I walk into a room and I see someone physically, body language, they're weeping or they're struggling, my immediate response inside is, I'm going to walk this way and go around. Now, as a pastor, I cannot do that. You understand that. I've got to be able to go, ask questions, try to meet a need, and I will. I will do that. I'm admitting that in my person, that's not my initial thought. But to Jody, it is every time. She's sweet and loving and merciful, and if she sees someone struggling, she goes to them, she hugs them, she cries with them, and then she tries to bring them back up, because that's her gift. She's the best at that. I have to work at it. It's natural to her. And if you have the gift of mercy, it is also natural to you. It is and again, you're going because you're being sincere and you truly care about the individual, not necessarily the things they're going through, so that you can share it with others. So,